like to thank everybody who's here today, who made the trip to come here at Harvard, such a distinguished institution, to talk about diaspora engagement. Diaspora engagement is indeed a topic, a subject that people are starting to gear towards and analyze more to see how such an engagement can transform a country's path. And Haiti is certainly one country that stands to benefit from its diaspora's engagement. And my role as Minister of Haitians living abroad is indeed to be that catalyst, the catalyst that would allow diaspora to engage in various fields. The Ministry of Haitians living abroad is a transversal ministry. Transversal in the sense that we are called to work along with all other ministries, because your interest varies, whether it is tourism, whether it is commerce, whether it is environmental, whether it is agricultural. So our ministry is there for that, to be that link between you and your diverse interests. Our ministry is there to materialize the interest that you have. I've lived in Miami, Florida for 25 years, so I understand the diaspora's plight. I understand the diaspora's engagement. I understand the will to want to do something. And I understand also the frustrations, as sometimes will does not necessarily translate into actions or results. And this is what we're trying to change. As an economist, Professor Cummings, I particularly appreciate your simple linear regression model on how we can use several variables into understanding how to tweak our approaches and get the best yield out of diaspora engagement. And I'm looking forward to working with you on that model. I'd like to start my speech, and I usually like to start my speech by giving you all a sense of what's going on in Haiti. Some of you already know, but it is important for me to start by telling you where we are today as opposed to where we were 3-4 years ago. Today we are a country, a nation, where we have a president and a prime minister that are talking about laying down the foundations so that we can make Haiti an emerging country by year 2030, an emerging nation by year 2030. What does that mean? It means, first of all, that it's a bold statement, but it also means that we're going to need more than just the contribution of Haitians in Haiti and the government's contribution. We're going to need everybody's contribution for that to happen. The most sustainable source of economic development for Haiti is its diaspora. The most reliable source of economic development for Haiti is its diaspora, because your interests are linked with that of Haiti. We could benefit from international aid for a certain amount of years, but we never know what may happen in certain geopolitical affairs, and the level of support that we get is no longer what it is. We have preferential relationship with the United States, where USAID is helping us tremendously. But we never know what may happen in the US's budget to sustain such aid. We also have preferential treatment with Venezuela. with the Petro-Caribbean Fund. But we never know how sustainable all these funds may be. The only source of sustainable sources of economic development is the diaspora. And this government is seriously trying to establish mechanisms in which we can funnel your interest, your capital, whether financial or human resource, towards targeted projects, towards projects that will not only help a certain community, but projects that would yield a good return on your investment. Because we believe that now, today, your engagement must be an investment. We welcome all the aid. We do need aid, but we need more investment. We need more trade. This is the historical corner that we're in right now. And we must recognize the fact that we are in a historical juncture. This is a historical crossroad, this right now. Just as 1804 was a historical crossroad, just as 1986 was a historical crossroad, 1991, 2011, 2012, we are at a historical crossroad. We've made many strides in many sectors. The president and its government have established certain priorities, and we call it the 5 E's: education, environmental, rule of law, which is état de droit in French, energy, and employment. Many strides have been made in all of these areas, but many more need to be made, and the diaspora has its role to play. As you know, in education, the president established the fund called PSUGO, le Programme de Scolarisation Universelle Gratuite et Obligatoire, which means what? Our Constitution says that every child must benefit from education for free. It's in our Constitution. We've never been able to do it until now. And this is why when each one of you goes out and does a transfer, $1.50 is collected. It goes towards that. 5 cents on international calls. It goes on that. Certain groups have criticized the program and have tried to present a case by which we are taxing the diaspora once more for no reason. But tell that to the 1.4 million children that have gone to school for free every day with a warm meal. Tell that to the children that you see on Sean Moss every morning, thousands of children that you see on Sean Moss every morning getting on a free bus to go to school instead of walking for an hour to go to school. All of that, thanks to you. But I'm not telling you this for you to know only. You need to own that. You did that. You shouldn't be shamed. You should be proud, and you should walk your head high saying, we sent 1.4 million children to school, and we can do more. You can do more. You need to own that achievement. This is your achievement. And the president, especially the Minister of Education, is especially recognizing to that. So, in terms of environment, as you know, Haiti's environmental landscape has been dismal. We've been cutting down trees and not replacing trees. We've been using trees as charcoal, and we've never had a policy to replace those trees. You can cut trees. As a matter of fact, cutting trees is a business, the lumber business, but it needs to be done in a way that is sustainable. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that. But we have a Minister of Environment that has great programs to replant trees. As a matter of fact, this year, they went on a very aggressive campaign of replanting trees using crop dusters and implanting hundreds of thousands of seeds that are just now starting to grow in some of the most regions that are most affected. It's important to understand that this is an important E, because without the environment, we cannot do anything. We're going to have agriculture, we're going to have many more floods, and our attention will be targeted toward other things besides building our country. But it also presents opportunities, the environment. There's a company, there's a young Haitian in Haiti that had the wonderful idea of collecting plastic bottles to recycle. Haiti used to be, Port-au-Prince used to be littered with bois de juna. Qu'est-ce qu'on sait bois de juna? You're not that much of a diaspora after all. Bois de juna are bottles of juice, and it's the name called juna. Very popular in Haiti. The streets used to be littered with bois de juna, and what happens is that when it rains, it clogs the drainage, and when it clogs the drainage, then it floods. Well, this gentleman, along with others, but this gentleman started a recycling business, and now you can hardly find a bois de juna on the streets. And the recycling business is growing, and they're doing many more things with those bottles. That's a business opportunity. Being able to offer an alternative to charcoal is another business opportunity, because we can no longer use charcoal in Haiti. We shouldn't be using charcoal in Haiti. But we have to give an alternative to charcoal. People haven't been cutting trees for the sake of just cutting trees. They need to cook every day, so they need to have an alternative. So which one of you will be the one to come up with that alternative and make a boatload of money? Because opportunities are about in Haiti. In terms of état de droit, rule of law, it is very important to understand that one of the main priorities of the diaspora is the level of corruption that exists in Haiti, the level of lawlessness that existed in Haiti. We've made great strides there too. I'm not going to say that Haiti is corrupt-free, nor can you say that the US is corrupt-free. But we are definitely investing in institutions that will diminish the level of corruption. This government invested in the task force, l'unité de lutte contre la corruption, anti-corruption task force, that is making great strides in ensuring, first, that government officials are not as corrupt as they used to, and we're actually putting some people in jail. And second, that certain entities such as customs, such as everywhere that the diaspora usually needs to go, are well staffed. I'm pleased to tell you that last week I went to the Central Office of Customs, where they recently inaugurated a customs office just for the diaspora. I say this because it is usually, it is one of the top priorities and doléances de la diaspora. When people send stuff to Haiti, they spend a lot of money and time in customs. When people send stuff to Haiti, they usually find somebody to tell them, no, you don't need to go there, I'll take care of you. They find a T. Paul, T. Pierre, T. André, Capri Gliafo. Stop doing that. Stop using T. Pierre, T. André. T. Pierre, T. André is only there to steal your money. There is an institutionalized manner and way to do so. There is an office especially dedicated for the diaspora for your custom needs. And there is also a bureau de doléances that has been established within my ministry that you can contact for any problems that you may have. We'll give you the information as we leave the conference today. So we're making great strides in trying to maintain the level of corruption. All that, not only to attract the diaspora, but to attract the international community into investing into Haiti. It is also important in terms of rule of law to differentiate the perception of risk and security in Haiti. I know security is a huge issue, not only for the diaspora, but for everybody. But we do have to recognize that there is a gap between its perception and its reality. I'm not gonna recite all the statistics in terms of the improvement that have been made in Haiti, whereas we only record 8, in terms of crimes, there's only 8 per 100,000, which is something that's comparable to any city. We are the less crime-prone country in the region, less than the Dominican Republic, less than Jamaica. There's a lot of statistics that you can find that will attest that there's a lot of progress that has been made in Haiti. But it is important for you to understand that also. That perception needs to be gapped with its reality, because that perception is inhibiting you from coming to Haiti. That perception is inhibiting you from investing in Haiti, whereas other people are coming. Foreigners are coming and enjoying the country and investing in the country. We need to bridge that gap. And if there's something that I can do, something that my ministry can do to give you more information about the reality, please let us know. We'll be more present, not only on our website and social media, but physically present also. We're working on establishing close relationship with different consulates, all the consulates, so that we are more present and helping them and supporting their initiatives in bringing you back to Haiti. But there is a huge gap between the perception and the reality of insecurity in Haiti. Again, I'm not going to say that Haiti is risk-free, nor can you say that Boston is risk-free. I don't know Boston, but I'm sure that there's some areas in Boston, if I told you I'd go, you tell me, no, better not go there. Just like any other city. I know that recently we've had incidents in Boston where Haitian Americans were victims of insecurity. And the government sends their heartfelt sympathies to the families of those victims. We understand that. But let us not make those unfortunate occasions and make it the norm, because unfortunately those were occasions, but it is not the norm anymore in Haiti. So, energy. Without energy, any country that pretends to want to develop cannot develop itself. So energy is another area that is a high priority for the country. There are a lot of opportunities there as well. I've met several companies wanting to make energy out of waste to energy projects. Opportunities are abound there. We're trying to become an emerging country by 2030. We need to triple, quadruple our energy production capacities. And the government has opened its structure in terms of attracting foreign investment within our power generating and power distribution infrastructure. Therefore, this is one area that one needs to look at a lot. So I tell you this again to give you a sense of the progress that has been made in Haiti and the opportunities that lay for diaspora members to engage Haiti. My ministry, based upon the President's vision and the Prime Minister's directives, has established a four-pronged strategy to engage the diaspora. First, initiate a census around the diaspora. We say we're 4 million people, about. I need to be sure of that number. But not only do I need to be sure of that number, I need to be able to understand what does that 4 million consist of. Do we have more people under the age of 18? Do we have a lot of people over the age of 65? Where are you? So that our communication strategy is better utilized. And so that we can offer you better mechanisms also. Professor Cummings earlier stated that the ministry's engagement process and the engagement of the diaspora cannot solely lie on our strategies, and it is true. When we're going to be doing that census, we couldn't possibly do that census by itself. We'll need every organization on the ground to help us realize that census, because we know how it's hard to do a census. So we'll be relying upon all of you to complete that census. We started it, however. We started it in the Dominican Republic. Some of you may or may not know, but our ministry is involved in an identification and documentation program in the Dominican Republic. We chose to start in the DR because in light of the difficulties that our brothers and sisters are going through over there, after the constitutional law that is nationalizing a lot of Dominicans. And moreover, it is our responsibility to do it. So we're doing it in the Dominican Republic. And we're issuing passports, birth certificates, and their identification cards. All three for 1,000 pesos, which is $22. We're targeting 300,000 people in the Dominican Republic. So far, we're about at 25,000. We got a lot more to go, but we will get there. But this is our first attempt in doing the census and also giving you your identification card, which is very important. The second objective is to mobilize the diaspora towards mechanisms that would allow you to invest in Haiti. Haiti is open for business. We've been saying it for 3 years. But now we need to really put some meat into that. Haiti is open for business. We're looking for investors that can invest $1 million, $2 million, but we're also looking for investors that can put $100 a week into a fund that they've put together. We are here to help you define what that mechanism will be. We are here to try to tailor a portfolio based upon your investor profile, based upon what type of projects you want to invest in, based upon the location that you want to invest in Haiti. So we need to have a much better communication so that we understand what your investor profile is in order to make those mechanisms available to you. Mechanisms that do not have to be a government-run mechanism. The government does currently have an investment fund that it is putting together in Haiti. But you need to organize yourselves here also and put together a fund that can invest in several projects of your interest in Haiti and yield the return on investment that I know Haiti can yield for you. Many of you have funds such in mutual funds, 401k. I don't know how performant they are to you. Actually, these days, the stock market is up, so it's probably, you're not doing too bad these days. However, I believe that Haiti's investment landscape is so virgin, as they say, is that it's probably one of the investment landscape where your return on investment will be greater in this part of the world. And my job is to find projects for you in Haiti that can give you those yields. Part of my job. So, mobilizing the diaspora towards the creation of those mechanisms is a must. Financial mechanisms and human resource mechanisms. I'm happy to announce to you that starting in January, The Ministry of Haitians Living Abroad will embark on a program that will look for young professionals to come in Haiti and share their experience, share their knowledge, to work as interns. Thank you. To work as interns or to find employment. We have a structure, a program put in place so that we can attract that wealth of knowledge that you possess and put it to good use so that you can fulfill your objectives and so that Haiti can benefit for it as well. So mobilizing those resources is our third objective. Our fourth objective is to establish a presence in the diaspora, establish a physical presence in the diaspora. We cannot say that we're Ministry of Haitians Living Abroad and we do not have a physical presence in the diaspora. So to that effect, we are signing a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that we can be present in several consulates, but we are also working with diaspora members around different communities so that we can have a network of representatives of MAV within the diaspora. These are the four objectives that we have. And everything that MAV does will be around these four objectives. I'm looking forward to strengthening the relationships that we have in MAV with you because we need to. It is a collective effort that we need to employ in order to be able to really make the diaspora what it's supposed to do. Earlier I mentioned that we are going to be issuing identification cards, not only in the Dominican Republic, but in all the consulates in the diaspora. The identification card is important. It's important because it is your first step towards being able to vote. And it is the president's will for the diaspora to be able to vote. I'd like to highlight and remind people that as a Haitian American, if you naturalized yourself years ago, the amended Constitution allows you to have your Haitian citizenship. As a matter of fact, Kathleen Felix, who's back there, Kathleen, can you wave to everybody? Is a testimony. She's a testimony to that fact. She recently got her Haitian passport back. Of course, you can hold your Canadian, your French, your American, and your Haitian passport. What does that mean? That means that you can also have your identification card, a carte d'identification nationale. And it is with that card that you can vote. And it is my job to make sure that at the next presidential elections, you can vote. But I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help to lobby Parliament and the Electoral Council in Haiti to make that happen in the council, in the different consulate generals around the country. It is very important to do so because you can pretty much change the landscape of the political identity in Haiti. I know a lot of you are concerned about elections in Haiti, if you're following politics in Haiti. We're supposed to have elections in October. It is the president's will to have elections in October. It was, and the Prime Minister, it was the entire government's will to have elections in October. However, the process has been blocked. The process is that the government sends an electoral law to be voted by Parliament. When the government sent the law to the House of Representatives, it was voted in 2 hours. Without that law, we cannot have elections. When the process went to the Senate, it's been 231 days now that they have not voted the law. I mentioned earlier that Haiti has experienced a certain level of political stability for the last 9-10 years. I want to assure you that that political stability will remain, and we will have elections first quarter of 2015. We are indeed at a historical crossroad, and the destiny of this great nation is much larger, much greater than the ill political will of just a few. I assure you, we will have elections. I thank you again for your attention. I am available to you for questions. I'm here also with my executive assistant and my consultant for our contact information, and I'm looking forward to the discussions that will follow suit. Thank you.